someone can be like, oh, I feel trapped, because if it's all predestined for me, and I have no control over my free will, then I guess my life is boring if I get to read my chart and I have no control over what's going to happen. So what would you say to those people?
People want to know the answer. And what I love so much about human design is like, no one is going to tell you the answer. No one is going to tell you that this is going to work. It's called the human design experiment. So they have all mastered something and stuck to being really good at that thing.
Gut governs life force. When you think about it, that we're not tapping into gut at all, and why everyone is chugging coffee all the time and everyone feels exhausted, because we're not connected to our guts, because we're living from our minds. What's the right thing to do? Hi, my name is Aggie, and this is Biohacking Bestie. The one-stop shop for a modern queen, where you can find biohacking courses, self-growth courses, and where you can find the most incredible community of women so you can hit all of your biohacking goals and beyond. Welcome to Biohacking Bestie. I'm your host, Aggie, and today we're hosting a wonderful human, Jenna Zoe, who is the human design expert, the owner of the human design app, as well as an incredible human who kindly extended her trip to LA, and she's not going back to Ibiza, for us to dive into human design. So if you're anything like me, you probably have done your human design and heard it, and you just kind of have a general idea of what you are, whether you're a manifestor or generator. But like, I don't use that information against the world or to my advantage. So I basically just kind of know it. And I think what I want for you to feel after this 1 hour episode is to finally understand how to read your chart so you can actually be more successful in your business, feel better in your body, get fitter, match your workout, match your eating schedule, because all of that is encoded in your human design, and it's going to make your weight loss journey, your health journey so much more enjoyable and so much more aligned with who you truly are. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
welcome.
I love the way you said that.
Okay, cool. So if there's any moment of this conversation that you feel like, oh my God, that was amazing, please make sure you tag Jenna on Instagram or whatever platform that you're using. Give her some love. Our guests come here for free and share their knowledge. So the least we can do is celebrate them, support them. So tune in and let's dive in. All right. So you have your beautiful app. I was super impressed by it. These things mean nothing to me, but they look very impressive. So just from the very start, for those who are listening to this and can't see the chart, what is human design in very simple terms, and why should we care?
So human design is a little bit like a map of your energy body, your aura. So if you can imagine, we talk about everyone having different energy. And if you can wrap your head around the fact that when you're born, you already have your kind of like set essence or your energy. And the idea is that when you're living according to your essence, you're going to have like more flow, more ease, less detours in the right direction towards like what you actually want to become, what you want to achieve. It's all the other stuff that we get told to be that isn't really who we are that pulls us off the path, right? So with human design, it's like, okay, this is who you came here to be. Stick with this. This is your manual, right? It's like your blueprint and you have to follow the coding, right? And so really the goal with human design is to remind you what you are and your way of doing life if you were left to your own devices before the world told you how to be. And then when you use your energy correctly, what happens is everyone is kind of reading each other. We're all feeling each other. What happens when you actually honor how you're built on a soul level, then your soul and your surface are on the same page. That's a much clearer signal to the universe about like, this is me, I'm living my design, I'm being authentic. And other people as well, like resonate with us way more when we're just being what we are and we're not trying to be good at something we're not, right? That's always when there's like a bit of a janky thing that you get from people, even if you don't know that's why. So human design is just very practical. You were saying to me like how important practicality and application is. Like it's such a practical application because it's not here to tell you, okay, you're going to have 3 kids. It's here to tell you like, this is the way you use your energy. This is the way you make decisions. This is the way that you make stuff happen in your life. These are the sort of archetypal costumes that you wear. This is the way you see yourself. This is the way you see other people. That's how other people see you. This is going to be the theme of your life, the karma you come to accomplish. These are the gifts that you already have. So you need to double down on those rather than try and have other gifts that you think you need to have, you know? Are you consistent? Are you disciplined? Do you work with the same thing every day or do you need to switch it up? Like all of that stuff is up for grabs in human design.
And so I can imagine a couple of things. I 100% 100% agree that we are so brainwashed into getting to success or getting to full alignment, because that's my definition of success. Success is not money. It's like being in full alignment, connected to the universe, the source, the creator, whatever you call it, depending on your spirituality, and just being someone who can like, okay, this feels super easy. Like things come to me naturally. Money comes naturally. Love comes naturally. I have a great community. So that's alignment. And we are taught that there's only one way to get there. And it's this, you go to school, you go to university, then you kind of like get a job and try to follow that and have a 20-step morning routine that's been imposed to you by some expert that thinks that this is the best, instead of like, what is me? Like, is this really me, or is this me not at all? Is this not me at all? And so just like finding that out, and all we do as adults is learning how to disconnect from our intuition and follow everyone else or the right thing or the study or the research in biohacking, whatever it is. Well, but the research was like, I don't care how you feel after this coffee. Like the research says this and that. It's just so funny how we override our own intuition and what is in alignment. Like same for diet. Like what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. There could be similarities, but not necessarily. So I love that human design kind of gives you permission, not that you ever needed one, to be like, okay, but you're different and your path is different, and you're going to get to that full alignment and success because you already see that it's already within you. It's already there. You don't have to wait to do X, Y, and Z. This is already within you. And I also love that it's just, I think I'm just like feeling like someone can be like, oh, I feel trapped because if it's all predestined for me, and I have no control over my free will, then I guess my life is boring if I get to read my chart and I have no control over what's going to happen. So what would you say to those people?
So what I would say is that human design we've been conditioned a lot, especially in the sort of like spiritual industry, let's say. People want to know the answer. People want to say, is this my twin flame? Is he my soulmate? Like, how do I know compatibility? And what I love so much about human design is like, no one is going to tell you the answer. No one is going to tell you that this is going to work. It's called the human design experiment because it's like, listen, you've tried using your mind to run your life this entire time. You know very well how that works out. Yeah. Try this other different way and don't trust me, don't go on blind faith, but like actually start to see if you get better results this way. And then when you do, what happens, and the best thing people always say, and I love when people say this, is like, what do they get from it? Is like, I trust myself more. You believe in your own capability. You know that you have, the wherewithal in you, and there's something in you that knows that you've got this. And basically where it isn't predestined is that ultimately we haven't lived an entire generation yet of people who have lived this way from like the inside, from this like mystical thing that is just honoring the self. And so I
would argue also that people used to live that way without any help. It's just we disconnected ourselves for thousands of years and now we're coming back.
Yeah.
But I think innately, this is what humans used to live like,
But the interesting part now is that, for example, we look at people like an Elon Musk or a Beyonce or whatever, and we say, oh my God, they're exceptions. They're at the top of their game. The whole idea behind human design is like you can iterate this to those kind of stratospheric level because it helps you have quantum jumps in how far forward you go. And so we're looking at what we think successful humans are now as the evidence of what we can do. But actually we can go so much further because the evidence of what we're seeing is already old. It's already expired. It's already people that were using the old way. And so it's actually the opposite of limiting because there's a whole piece of human design which is kind of advanced called the 4 transformations. And that's all about how you awaken your genius. And most people aren't even honoring number 1 of the 4 transformations. So you don't even give your body a chance to have its own genius, to like get into your path of where you can be a genius at something. So we just don't have evidence of what that looks like yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. I also love that it's like any sort of practice for me that reminds you of your own power, your own intuition, your own like alignment and what feels good. And that's the path to success, not some external validation. Is something that's worth exploring. Just like full stop, like not imposing anything that's just making you feel like, oh, this is how you make your first 5 million because you need to go to school and you need to, I don't even know what the story is in the way. So I'm trying to make it up, but I'm like, one of it is that, you have to X number of followers and you have to have that many downloads. And if you don't, you're probably not that good at what you do.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just such a funny way of like navigating through the world. And I love that it's like, what's the new generation is bringing in is like, we notice that, like, I don't care how famous you are, how big your podcast is, like how many followers you have. If my nervous system doesn't feel good around you, like you're not like, I'm not a success. You're not a successful person to me. You know, if you're like chasing and running around in circles and you feel like you don't, that's not true success anymore. We like really just start to rewrite the story of what that means. And I think being in alignment, it's like fitting that puzzle, you know, like the puzzle that found its place. There's nothing more. You do puzzle?
Yeah.
Puzzle, there's nothing more satisfying than that.
Like
when it's like one left and you find it and you do it. It really feels like coming home. And I think that's what's beautiful about like what human design offers you.
Totally. What's amazing as well about this is that you realize that all the things you want to have is because of the way it's going to make you feel about yourself. But actually you can go the other way around, where becoming a person you dream of being, I always say this is the ultimate manifestation, because then it does just get you everything else without, and you just like look around and you're like, oh, there it is. Like, it's just weird, but we ended up here, but you get there and it feels even sweeter because you like who you are. So it's like, why not just go for the thing that ultimately matters first?
Yeah. And it's also like, I think it's just like, it's funny how I did a Kabbalah class with David, our mutual friend, and he said like the true, like in Kabbalah, which is ancient mysticism essentially, and it said that true feminine energy, like the feminine is the vessel. So woman is the vessel of the spirituality, and men can only access true spirituality through a woman. But like true feminine energy is one that is fully aware and able to receive it all, and knowing that she's worthy of receiving it all. And I think that's where the problem is. I think so many of us women don't feel worthy of all that success, all that health, all that hot body, all that lifestyle, living in Ibiza and going to LA and going to Beverly Hills Hotel for a coffee. There's part of that doesn't feel worthy because we hear like, oh, get a makeup to cover up how you really feel about yourself without actually fully tapping into the very reason why, like, well, why are you doing this? Like, you know, like, are you, nothing against makeup, by the way. It's just a place that you're doing it from. Are you doing it from a place of like, oh, I hate what I look? Or you just like, it's like, oh, it's, you know, women would put some sort of makeup for thousands of years. It's part of our like cultural self-expression, same as clothes, right? But it has to come from like, I'm expressing myself versus I'm covering who I really am so I can fit in and feel like I belong, but I really don't. Because, you know, and so I don't know where I went with this. I just feel really inspired being in your presence because I just feel, like you just like, no, but honestly, you just feel so good.
Thank you. So do you. Well, it's interesting that you say that because, and I wonder if you have the same experience with living in two places where I'm so aware when I come here. You know, in human design, we talk about how you get to your real self is about deconditioning, right? So taking away all the layers of things that tell you that you should be anything other than what you are. And obviously that's so like parental and childhood and whatever, but it's happening to us all the time when you get out in the world and there's conditioning. And so I'm so aware, for example, here, like there's a conditioning or a homogenization of people wearing workout clothes in the day. And like, you know, there's a specific LA look. I'm like, I don't want to feel like I need to dress like that by being here. Yeah. So it's a small example, but it's just those little things that help you just remember, like, I can do life my way and still feel good.
Yeah, and also yoga pants are not that good for you. They're healthy and they're leaking microplastics. So this is way better. Sundress is definitely drinking raw milk, wearing sundress is very biohacking. I love that. And like, so we both have this, like, we have this island life that I live in Bali, you live in Ibiza, and we wear barefoot and we're just basically, I mean, at least I do psychedelics, but that's just like very different, you know, really true connection and working with spirituality. And I come here and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm still on earth and I'm still like here to play the game. I'm going to go play the game. And then I go to Bali like, I don't need to do this.
I love it.
But it's like, it's such a both because we do both. Like, I don't, you know, we're the spiritual being having a human experience. I want the human experience. I don't want to like close myself in a cave and just feel like, oh, cool. Like I'm woke now. It's like practicing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I remember what I just said about like learning how to receive. I want you to address that. How hard is it for us to, because human design essentially says it in your chart. You got it all. You're worthy of having it all. We don't have to even try to convince you, just inherently worthy of all the things. And those things are meant to come easy to you. They're not meant to feel like struggle.
Yeah. So the idea is that, and it's again back to that practical application, is like, I think it's really difficult to feel worthy by sitting on your couch meditating. I think you find it easier to feel worthy when you've like get out in life and played with matter and like danced with that co-creation energy and said, okay, and sometimes it's okay to get sassy with the universe. Listen, universe, I'm going to try this thing called listening to my gut in human design. But like, if I do it and you want me to, apparently, you better sure as hell show me that this stuff works, right? And it's only by like kind of, you have to test something out to see that it's real. And it's in that process that you feel worthy. And I think a lot of people are trying to feel worthy from a conceptual place, but that's still mind. Whereas like worthiness in your cells is like, oh, not because I'm more or less other than other people, whatever, but because there's literally like this like weird divine piece of me too, that's in me, that's on loan to me in this life, that has nothing to do with me deciding if it's worthy or not. It's from above and I'm in charge of looking after it. So I sure as hell better respect it, you know?
Wow, it's so beautiful. That's so beautiful to think about it that way, that it's just like, wow, like, yeah, beautiful. I need to pause and just like let it sink in. So special. If you were looking at my human design, what would you say? Because we don't really know each other.
No.
So I wonder what you can tell.
So you know how in astrology you have your big three? You know how you have like your sun, your moon, your rising. In human design, okay, there's like so many layers. Like I was telling you, like the genius one, that's like so many layers deep. But the three most important things, and two of them are actually the only two things you need to know to change your life. And they are your energy type. The energy type is how you make, receive, and use energy. Right. So it's not a personality thing. It's just literally how you exchange. So,
and energy is everything, by the way, guys, because we live in an energy universe.
Yes.
Money's energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have this way that your body likes to kind of receive, give, use, up, downs, rest, play, work, the whole thing. So that's your energy type. Your second one is your authority. And that is the way that you make decisions. So if you use your energy correctly, you're manifesting everything. If you're making decisions the right way, then there's never any confusion, never overthinking, never, I don't know where to go. I don't know what, all of that noise goes away that we spend so much of our lives doing, because it's like, oh, there's this very specific instruction on how you're supposed to make decisions in life. So that's number two, that's your authority. And then number three is your profile. And your profile is more your personality. So that's kind of like the costume that you wear in life. So for example, you and me have a different energy type, but we have the same profile.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
what's your energy type? What are the energy options?
Okay. So the energy types are manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors.
Oh, cool.
So you're a generator. I'm a projector. Your authority is sacral. My authority is emotional. But then your profile is a 2-4 and my profile is a 2-4. And there are 12 profiles. So there's 5 energy types. There's 7, depending on who you ask, authorities. You can split those up. And there are 12 profiles.
Oh, wow.
So already, without getting into even other categories, there's so many combinations of different kind of humans you can have between those three. Yeah.
So energy type, I'm a generator. What does it mean?
Okay. So generators are the Elon Musks, the Oprahs, the Beyoncés of the world. What does that mean? They have all mastered something.
Well, my ego just blew up, guys.
So they have all mastered something and stuck to being really good at that thing. So ultimately, Elon Musk is an amazing, incredible engineer, right? Beyonce is an amazing singer and dancer and entertainer. Oprah is an incredible interviewer. Overall, they haven't really diversified from that one thing. They've just kept feeding their thing over time and it compounds, right? And that's what generators do. Now, generators, the way that they know what that thing is what it lights them up, because generators are ruled by their gut. So it's all about joy and what gives you life. And when you're doing something that you love, and this is where it's like almost annoyingly simple, because when you're doing something you love, it gives you energy rather than takes it away. When you're supposed to be doing something, when you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, the universe takes away energy, because that's its way of saying, honey, I don't want you to keep going down this path. So stop. First thing it will take away is your energy. then it will take away your flow, then it takes away resources, right? So
And then
that's
health probably, because I also know people that like,
vitality helps.
Yeah.
So the reason why health as well is because generators are ruled by the gut, and the gut governs life force. So it's like you guys are literally creating life force.
Gut governs life force. When you think about it, that we're not tapping into gut at all, and why everyone is chugging coffee all the time and everyone feels exhausted, because we're not connected to our guts, because we're living from our minds. What's the right thing to do? And when you're not sure what to do, what do? Ask ChatGPT, Google, or your best friend. Instead of like, let me check with myself.
And you have felt that in your life when you do something you love and it gives you a life. You're just like, ugh. And it's this like satisfaction, this like juiciness that you have with life. Yeah. And then what happens with generators, and this is what they're here to do for other people, is that ironically, when they are quote unquote selfish enough to do what they love, it spills over into other people, because that energy of like a lit up generator is like, that powers the rest of the world. So Ra Uru, the founder of Human Design, was like, the way we change the world is by making sure the generators get lit up, because that does lift everybody. That will, without you having to try to lift someone, just by being around that generator energy. What's a generator? It powers everything.
And it's funny because that's why I tend to like do a lot of coaching, because people are like, oh, like I want to like learn how you do it. I'm like, I don't know how to do it. You just do it. You just do it.
I love
do what you love. That's it. That's the advice. Yeah. But so what are you and how different is it?
So it's interesting. So generators and manifesting generators are the only people that have that defined gut, that life force, right? So they're the ones that, you know, you have a consistent amount of energy that you can rely on. You wake up with a certain battery, you use it. By the end of the day, the second you've used it, that's it. You're out. No more for the day. Like done. You wake up the next day, the battery is there. It's churning. It has to be used on stuff you love. If you use it on stuff you love, it goes higher. And if you don't use it on stuff you love, it's lower. And that's also when they don't sleep at night. When generators haven't filled their day, used their energy up on stuff that they love and created more energy, that's when they're awake at night.
That is so crazy. This is like insomnia explained so well. And why so many people feel frustrated, because they just don't do the things they love, and that energy is still like stuck.
So that's crazy that you use that word, because the not self, i.e. the sign you feel when you're not living your design for generators, is frustration. You literally just said that word. That's crazy. Yeah. So that's a no-fail sign that you know that you're
It's
off.
funny because I had a really like, I was in the middle of doing something that I really, really liked. And then my friends came over to my house and I had to like leave. And I kind of felt like I haven't finished. And I barely slept last night. And I woke up at 5 like with like a pit in my stomach. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling it again. And like even with my spiritual coach, it was like, oh, it's stuck energy trying to move. Because I just wake up feeling like just like, you know, like I need to get out. Like it's 5:30 and I'm like, I need to get out. Like so funny. And Jacob knows, it's like, oh, this thing again. But I never put it together. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, to add another layer, you're also a 2-4 in your profile, and a 2, and I'm the same. What really bothers us is if we feel like someone's interrupting us or disturbing us or bothering us. That's like our kind of like misunderstanding of life, because what happens with the 2 is it's a very unconscious process that you go through when you're kind of like cultivating your knowledge and your wisdom. You just like doing your thing alone without really knowing that you're like getting to something. And so then if someone interrupts that flow that you're not even aware that you were in, it's very annoying.
Yes. And to the point that I'm like extremely, like I say to Jacob, my fiance, I'm like, don't talk to me right now. I'm in the middle of thinking about something. And he's like, okay, like so intense. Or like when people like try to like talk to me, I'm like, I can't talk about something else. I'm still processing the thing before. Like you think this is the weirdest thing for me, but I'm like, yeah, I can't switch between, because I like still have to like finish mentally.
Yeah, totally. And that's just such anyone that has a 2 in their profile, that's just the thing that reoccurs, is like we just don't like feeling like someone's like interrupting the flow.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So how would you say, so let's go to authority. So how I make decisions, which is sacral. And you said, I was like, oh, sacral sounds good. But then yours was emotional.
Emotional, yeah.
That sounds even better.
You don't want mine, trust me.
No.
So a sacral authority means it's also your gut that is in charge of making your major life decisions. Now, the gut is black and white. It doesn't know like open-ended questions. Like if I'm like, what do you want to do today? You're like, that's really hard. Whereas I'm like, do you want to do this? Yes or no? Or like, do you want to do this or this? You're like, okay, cool. So whenever you're trying to make decisions, you're very clear on what resonates or doesn't resonate, but you have to make things easy for the way that your body likes to make decisions, right? So instead of being like, open-ended and like vague, your system knows how to make, and also you know how to have clarity in the now. So you have to almost construct stuff of like, does this light me up? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, do I like the idea of this? Like, when I feel something in front of me, and the thing about sacral authority, it's very tangible. Generators are like really touchy and they have this enveloping aura. So when you're drawn to something, you literally can feel your body, like you can feel something churn inside you. You feel like you want to be close to that thing. You want to grab it.
People are like, are you okay? Did you have like 7 coffees? I'm like, no, I'm just so excited.
Yes.
I feel like, oh.
Yeah. And that's the way it is. And then that's what draws other people to you. And then that means that whatever you do is successful, because people aren't coming for the thing necessarily. They're also coming for your energy. Because like I said, it's only generators and manifesting generators that are providing that power consistently, and manifesting generators not necessarily providing it for other people, because they're slightly different. So we all rely on generators to have that like.
So I'm going to make an assumption. You're going to tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Okay.
So if I'm a manifestor generator, and I want to lose weight or like get fit, I'm going to find a workout routine that really brings joy to me. I will not be able to stick to something that really drains me. Whatever that it is. If I don't like the gym, I probably won't see the results. I would rather just do Pilates because I want to really feel like I'm in full alignment. And if you're someone like a projector, you want to make sure that you work out with a coach who's kind of like leading you through the way and help you tap into that energy. Or is that
close? So with generators, it has to be something you enjoy, right? It has to be something that gives you energy. Fact. So, and it's the same with food. So with food, it has to be things you're like actually drawn to. So I tell a lot of generators when they're trying to eat healthy, like make a list of things you believe are healthy, but then only eat the ones you actually enjoy. Like there's no point trying to make yourself eat kale if you hate kale. Like my mom's a generator. I'm like, don't stop going to these people who are telling you like blueberries, if you just eat the strawberries, you'll be fine. Like I promise you, like, so it has to be this.
I feel so sane right now.
I'm like, you have to eat stuff that you get excited about, because then
so we can't stick to a specific diet because it's just like really suffocating.
Yeah. So that's number one. And number two is like, with the workouts, it has to be the same. Now, there's obviously other nuances in it, but for example, manifestors with them, because so manifestors are people who their energy is like regularly going between 200% sometimes and then back down to 20, right? My sister's a manifestor, and she read this thing about what's his name? Rich Froning. Do you know who that is? He was like a big CrossFit. He was like one of the best CrossFit people in the world. And he used to say like he would do that. Like he would train like all out hard for like 3 weeks and then have like 2 weeks where he was like completely dead to the world or whatever. And manifestors, that's what their energy is like in general anyway. So like think about like Adele. She's like putting out an album called 18 and then you don't hear from her again until the album 21 comes out, right? She's just like, she's a manifestor. 25. Yeah. And in between, you're like, no clue what she's doing. So with manifestors, like they have to get okay with like, not, I need to find my routine that works for me. Like my sister will do F45 like for until she's finished, until she's done, until she's out of that 200. And when she's in 20, she's like not moving and she's fasting, right?
Oh, so
and
interesting.
Like, not having anything, or she's just going for walks, or she's like going for a run and then she's this. So they swing so much more.
And that's okay. So imagine, so like if you guys are like freaking out because we're like switching in between, grab Jenna's app, plug your details in, you basically put your date of birth. We didn't say that, but put your date of birth, your place of birth, because it's super important. Like I was born in Warsaw, Poland, so that impacts the time and where the stars were and moons and everything. And then that, like, just do it right now, pause the podcast, come back and just listen up, because this is really interesting. So if I was a manifestor, I would feel like, oh my God, I can't stick to anything. And I would feel really bad about myself.
Like, oh wait, do I need to find some kind of middle ground where it's like, actually no, because the universe with those people, because they're really sort of like, they pop out, they make an impact, then everyone is reacting to it and everyone's had enough energy. Like we don't need you to keep like sparking us. So go chill. Like, well, when you're ready again, like you'll come back, don't worry. So you can't be on all the time. And if you force yourself to be on all the time, then you can never be inward then to receive the next urge, right? So you're then short-circuiting your energy later on. So that's manifestors. There's loads of other nuances to how you should work out based on if you're emotional, if you're non-emotional, all those kind of things. But if you're a manifesting generator, they're really like multi-hyphenate people. They're like Tony Robbins. They're like always doing different things and like, diversifying. So like they are the people who like went through a hardcore phase of doing this and then they're over and then they're going into this and then they're doing that. And then projectors, because we don't create the same amount of energy as other people, we actually feed off of other people's and we amplify other people's life force. So like I can be in a class, like an intense class, and like do it way more intense than everyone else. But that's because I've like basically gotten it, like written off an addiction of everyone else's life force in the room.
That's so funny.
But then I'll crash later if I try and outdo everyone, which I can, because I'm going to amplify it. I'm open and I'm an amplifier, right? So I can do that, but then I'm going to be dead later. So it's also about managing, like, it's better for projectors because we're built slower to try to move your lymph every day, because our lymph is also slow, to try and move your circulation every day, but never to get so high off the fact of like, look how much I can do, to then kid yourself that just because you did one class really hard, like you're going to try and do that every day because you're going to be spent, you know?
So interesting. So I love that, how strategic it is, because it really allows you to like make those decisions. What about like your boss? Like, can we somehow find out what our boss, what type your boss is, and how to like be able to manage that? And the other way around, if I'm boss and I'm, you know, about to hire people, who would I want to have on my team?
So it depends what role you need, but I have such an amazing, I mean, it's incredible that, number one, when you start living this way, you actually, and it's so funny because you actually attract the exact archetypes of, like, if you were to design it as like a kid's book, it would be like, it would be people that fit those exact profiles. So this isn't going to mean anything to you, but like, you know, the person who started helping me with, extracting copy, because I have so much material, I need to like have it transcribed and stuff. And she's a 1-4 quad left generate, like, and I was like, this is completely by accident. She reached out to me, which is exactly right for me, because as a projector, the way I make stuff happen is by being invited. And so she invited me to, every single person that's worked for me has asked me to hire them. Every single podcast I've ever been on, every single book, when I did my book, like I've never ever reached out for anything, right? So because I've really tried to flex this. And so everyone who now works with me is the exact perfect archetype you would design, because I'm just living mine. So in a way, you don't even have to look for things. However, there are tricks that when you're looking at people's design, if you need someone who's really consistent, really strategic, there's stuff to look for on that. If you want to look for someone who is really capable, someone who's really good at solving problems, you would look for someone, for example, who has a 5 in their profile. A 5 has like a really save the day energy, and they like love to solve problems and like come to the rescue.
That's amazing.
So
I need that person in my life.
And then if you have a 5-1, a person who's a 5-1, they're the most capable people on the planet. And that doesn't mean that not being a 5-1 means you're not going to do anything in your life, of course.
Yeah.
But if you need someone who's like so freaking capable, for example, you would look for a 5-1 profile. So there's all these little nuances.
It's funny, but we feel it intuitively, right? Like we try to justify it with our mind and the story and personality. But like, for example, Micah here, like if I want to get something done for sure, then that's like the person I talk to. Like, you know, because I just know that this is going to get solved. If there's something I'm like around the house or whatever, it's just like, it's one of these things that it just, you know, I do.
Absolutely.
Do. So I'm curious to check the profile and see if he's a 5. But it's definitely like one of these things. Well, it's
interesting because you are 2-4. And so your 4 is how you make things happen, is through connecting with people.
That's amazing.
So through who you nurture, the connections that you nurture.
And so I'm so glad you say that, because I really only now trusted that. So, you know, growing up in Poland, I was like never accept any help, be independent, you know, and especially my mom is just like, you don't want to rely on a man, don't ever take money from men, like you have to do it all yourself, kind of like your ego trying to prove to everybody else, so we don't need them. But it's also like from this place of like feeling like, I don't know, like I just want to prove to others that I'm not a stupid blonde or whatever it might be. So I would always do everything myself for years. And I never, ever used any connections or connected or asked for help or ask someone who's done it before for opinion or to mentor me or whatever. It's just like I've been like completely closed off energetically, and these things didn't come. And only this year I was like, what if life can be easy? You know, like, so this past year I was like, I'm open to people helping me. Like I'm worthy of help and I deserve to be helped, but like, that's not even help. It's a collaboration. So I started like big one. I don't know if that you ever resonate with like having a book. I felt like people help me by having me on their podcast. And now I'm like, no, like my book is great. Like I give value to your audience. You give value to my audience by coming on a podcast. Like I don't feel like I'm helping you.
Right.
But it's just like a reframe that like I didn't really understand of how it works. That there's a world where there's value for both of us and no one's doing anyone a favor. It's like that's what alignment is, you know. And a lot of times it gets twisted or distorted by this ego game of, I'm doing you a favor, how many followers do you have? And I'm slowly healing and like opening myself up into my feminine, of letting myself to receive that. And like the people that have showed up I have never met so many billionaires in the last 30 days, like multi-billionaires that are just like, hey, like you should do this and that and that. I'm like, how are these people randomly meeting me, like, and just not expecting anything in return, just like giving me free advice, just like, I just want to see you win. You're doing crazy cool things. I'm like, how is this happening?
Wow.
So it's just beautiful that like I have it in my chart, because I wasn't really allowing myself to.
Well, the biggest conditioning for generators, and I'm happy that you say this, is because as a generator, right, that energy that you lend to people is so life-giving and juicy, like I was saying. But ultimately, when you do something to help other people, when you're a kid, you get praised, like, well done for doing your duty to go see grandma, even though you didn't want to, right? And so generators, their biggest deconditioning is to understand that you're only going to have a net like positive for everybody if you've been excited by it. So you can help your friend move house, but if your energy isn't there and if you're not excited by it, it's actually not helping lift the energy of the room. And so that's really what it is like, I need to trust that me doing my joy is what people want from me. And that is going to help them without me needing to go out of my way to help them. Right. And so
how was that for you, that journey, like healing that?
So I don't have it in as deep of a way because I'm not a generator. Right?
Oh, interesting.
It's so you don't have generator specific thing.
Oh, I thought everyone struggles with that.
I mean, listen, we all do to some extent because it's in the waters, but all the different energy types, all the different profiles, we all struggle with different, there's like sort of signature things that you have to sort of move through. And that generator guilt of like not helping others and not like, you know, going down and like yanking other people up and doing duties and shoulds. And that's a really specific generator thing.
Oh, wow. Well, it's so funny. And it's like half of my therapy would be saved. Where I feel so guilty about not helping every single person all the time.
Yeah. And you look at someone like Oprah and she's like lifting everybody because she's not going out of her way to think like, how do I, you know, help this specific person and make their life, but you know what I mean? It's like she's just doing her thing. And she's a 2-4 as well, by the way.
Oh, no way.
She's a 2-4. I believe I don't know if she's sacral or emotional, but she's definitely a 2-4 generator. So there's there's that commonality there.
So before, I just want to quickly go, because there's a couple more points. We won't have time to go through it all, but there's also your strategy, your sign, and your not self. If you can explain that, so when people navigate through your app or, you know, just like the chart.
Yeah. And basically when you click on any one of them, you get the full description, and I also will read it to you. So you can read all of it, or you can listen to it like a reading, basically.
Oh, so we get to hang out with you. I didn't see the reading part. Oh, that's amazing.
So you click on the headphones and it will read you that whole section.
Oh, yeah. That's such a cute idea.
Because the reason I built it that way is because I wanted everyone to have a reading from me, and I didn't want it to be expensive for people, and I didn't want people, my wait list grew to 1.5 years at the peak before COVID. At the peak of COVID in 2020, I was like, I need to do something in COVID, otherwise I'm going to go crazy. I worked with an astrophysicist to build that software. And then I wrote the app. So I was like, I want this stuff to be inexpensive and for everyone to know their human design. That's what it came about. Yeah. So
and I love that you make it so personal. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's
I
so
think
cool.
we need that. We need that hand holding in spirituality. So your strategy is how you make things happen. And that's tied to your energy type. So every energy type has a different strategy of how to make things happen in life. So with you responding, meaning you don't have to go out there and just like make something happen and just like out of the blue nowhere. It's like, oh my God, no, someone asked me about a book, or I saw someone else do a book and I thought that's exciting, right? And sometimes jealousy is also a really important one, right? Like if you see someone have something you want, you can go, hold on, what is it about that's exciting me? Like there's something.
I think jealousy is such a helpful feeling on the planet, 100%.
So whenever you have that response of like, I want that, that's how you make stuff happen. So it's not that you need to decide what you want. It's like you need to wait for life. Because I always say for generators, life is a buffet that's like giving you all these different things that you might like. And the one you go, I want this, you know? So that's how it is. It's like you respond to life. So that's generators. I
love that. And I also just like to say, like, because we judge these emotions, when we feel jealous, we try to like justify it. And we feel like, I feel jealous because that person doesn't deserve it. And so I should have it. Instead of like, whenever any feeling comes up, it's like, oh, this is feedback. There's a part of me that really wants it, you know, because when I'm jealous, or whenever you feel like someone shouldn't have something, it's because you feel like you should have it and you don't. That's the reality, you know, 100%. Like when people are like, you shouldn't have this success and you shouldn't have this. I'm like, you want success. Okay, just say it what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really, oh, that person shouldn't have it, is literally the translation is, I want what this person has, whatever that I'm, you know, bashing. So interesting.
Yeah.
So jealousy is good because it's an active
it's
emotion.
an active feeling, and especially for generators because it's tied to you realizing there's something you want, because life is like constructing this buffet and putting this person on your path and say, look what this person has. Do you want this? And you're like, yeah. You know,
I want that too. Like a 2-year-old. Yes, me. Or like, yeah.
Exactly. So it's that simple though, and we make it so complicated. So your strategy is how you make things happen. So when you respond to something that you actually are genuinely excited by, the universe is like, yes, honey, you're finally doing what I want you to do. I'm going to open all the doors, make it easy. That's just
amazing. And my sign is satisfaction.
Your sign is satisfaction. It's that thing I was telling you, like at the end of the day, we were just like, oh, and it just gave me life this day. And I just feel so juicy and full of life. Like that's generators. That's the feeling that you get that is 100% tied to, if I know I'm aligned, I feel this. That's what shows up. And then what shows up when you're doing something that isn't aligned is the frustration.
Yep.
So these are like very easy signs of, you know, we're like trying to do these. And I love a tarot deck. So, you know, but sometimes we're like, how do I know if I'm on the right path? Or how do I decide? Like human design is like, no, it's a scientific.
That's simple. If you're satisfied, you're in a good path. If you're frustrated, that's not a good path.
Yeah. And it can be a micro thing. Like I'm frustrated about the way that this communication is going, or I feel like something is stuck in this room or this one thing. Like it's not always black or white, right? And the more, actually funny enough, the more you get aligned, sometimes it's the smaller things that you feel so much deeper, because you're like, oh, this is like really the thing that's standing out, because everything else is satisfying to me. There's one thing is like extra frustrating, you know, and it like pains you more when the micro stuff is like what you're refining, you know?
Yeah. That is, I got so hooked. And it's funny because I tried it multiple times and I guess like it didn't really land for me. And I felt like maybe Gene Keys was like, oh, maybe that's a little bit more interesting because it's like more mystic and kind of like, I didn't feel like I understood enough human design to make it actionable. But the way you explain it, it's like really like, oh, cool. Like I can understand myself and also I can understand people around me and just kind of like, can you like plug in people's days and just like know too much about them?
Yes. Section here, and you can add as many people as you want and get their full readings.
Oh my God, it's so good.
And then there's like custom meditations on there. So there's like a specific generator meditation to like get back in touch with your gut, or there's like there's a section on the homepage called How to Grow, which is like, okay, now that you know this information, this is how you put it into practice. Like, okay, you do this and then you do this and then you do this and so on and so forth. And there's like stuff about compatibility. Like, anyway, there's just it's a whole world to dive into.
What are you working on right now? Like in terms of like your inner self? I know it sounds like, well, you know, what is your next project? But we can talk about both. But I'm curious, like, what is it that like is, as you know, and you've been doing it for a while, and I'm sure there's like parts that are like harder to feel in full alignment. Too.
I always whenever I think I'm done with this one, I just come back to it in a different way, which is my emotional authority. Emotional authority.
Oh yeah, you did like mention that.
I was like, trust me, you don't want mine, because there's so much. You know how I was saying with you have so much clarity in the now. With emotional authority, you always have to wait because your emotions are always cycling. You're always feeling stuff, not just when life, like you are cool, calm, and collected until stuff happens to you. I'm always playing the blues or with the rosy colored sunglasses on. Now, that's just the journey of my life. And I'm always trying to force myself and to talk myself into like making decisions quickly. And then I'm always like, wait. You actually, you know, shouldn't say yes when you're in a good mood, because you'll say yes to everything and everyone. And so this really shows up with me with the dating, because I had this story from childhood in my head of like, you should be so lucky when someone asks you out on a date.
I feel like brainwash of every woman. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So bad.
And so I am really in a place where I'm now trying to not just be as open and to just be like, listen, I believe that when you are aligned and there's a match and there's universal timing, and I don't know when the best time is, and I might want it now when I'm in my ego, but going on 20 dates doesn't mean it's more likely to happen to you sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
right? It's actually just one thing. You meet someone in an elevator and it could be in 5 years' time, and you could mess around and try and make it happen in those 5 years, or you could chill.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen anyway. So
I love that, because it's like two schools. It's like people's like, oh, dating is a numbers game. So if you go and meet enough people, which is very, I think, a very quite like a masculine approach to like very analytical and just like, you know, it's a KPI and this is how you run it. You're just like, okay, not necessarily. So interesting.
Yeah.
I immediately, what is there a connection between this and Kabbalah and the ancient wisdom? Or
yeah, so human design was actually devised based off of 4 systems. One is Kabbalah, one is astrology, one is the I Ching, one is the chakra system. And so this man who had studied all 4 very deeply was in an 8-day meditation on psychedelics in Ibiza. And he's a very, very smart man. Like, scientific research now, people are doing experiments about stuff that he talked about 37 years ago. It's insane. Yeah. Stuff that he talked about that no one had ever knew what the hell it was. And now they're trying to like catch up.
also just to study for in depth all 4 of those things is just like so intense.
I know. And so he was just like, there's a way to put all this stuff together that tells you about like your specific imprint within the sort of like cosmic destiny or the cosmic unfolding. Basically, there's something that has, you know, our design. And that's really what the whole idea behind human design is, this concept that you can get to in your life called passenger consciousness, where you are able to enjoy watching your life like a movie as it's unfolding. So of course you need to be energetically open to people, right? To meeting a man, for example, in my situation. But that's where the work is in being open, right? In deconditioning and unblocking. But the work is not in my mind coming and taking over and having a strategy for the unfolding of my life.
Yeah,
right?
it's just so hard to explain it unless you truly feel it. And I think it's just like when it comes to dating, a lot of women have this energetically feel like I'll be happy when I'm in a relationship, then my life will start. So they're waiting for the life to start and for the guy to call or whatever it might be, because they're like looking, or for the wedding. And I feel like you can get married from a place of like, hey, like, this feels like incredible and beautiful, or you can get married, okay, cool, like I ticked it off, like I made it. And whatever you say, like you were brainwashed into, which is like, you know, unless you're married, like you're not, or a mom, you're not, haven't even started being a woman, you know, like you're kind of like in this waiting energy. So if you attach your happiness onto other people, the universe is a gift. It's gonna keep delaying it to show you that you don't need those things, or it's gonna take them away, right? So,
and you trust the timing of things, you know, like is it better to meet your soulmate on the last day of your life? Or is it better to try and find a soulmate and try and make one fit now and then be with them for the next 50 years and then never meet the soulmate on the last day of your life? Karmically, like in the grand scheme of your soul, right? Does it really matter when it happens? You know?
And this is, again, the deconditioning that it's like life starts when I have someone next to me and I have children. And the more like cleaning up of the bullshit that we're getting fed to, you realize maybe like that's okay. Like it is what it is. Neither of it is better or worse. It just is, right? Like it's like at Carcoli, it's just like completely changed my life of just like how quickly we are to judge what something is good or bad instead of just it just is. It's just life. And this is like you said, passenger consciousness of like it's just happening. It's neither good or bad. And I've only just, like, I kind of understood that, but I think I was able to unlock it very recently on a whole new level, where I finally felt like I broke my, like, tikkun and my reactivity. Like, because it was such a challenging situation. I was like, are you fucking kidding me, universe? What is going on? And then I was like, I'm going to respond exactly opposite. I'm going to come from a place of love and from a place of like, it's neither good or bad. It just is. I don't know if it's bad. Like, who am I to? I'm not God. Like, I don't know if that's actually bad. Maybe that's exactly what I need. So I'm just like happy. What a pleasure. And then, which is what you say in Kabbalah when like anything happens. And literally the whole situation turned around in like 24 hours. But last time we were filming a podcast, I was wiping my tears off like 2 weeks ago because I was just like, I don't know if I can film. This is so hard. And now look at me now. Isn't that funny?
It turns it around so quick. And I love what you said, because the opposite is often the medicine, right? So I would say someone in my situation, if they'd never been so open to dating and wouldn't just date anyone, then actually maybe going on an app is the right thing for me. But because me, I'm literally like, I'll just go on a date with anyone, introduce me, like whatever. And then I end up, I'm just like, I'm no closer to this. So it's like breaking your nature a little bit too.
Yeah. And it's like, this, what's your medicine? And this is just like just to sum things up. Like, I think that's what's beautiful about biohacking, that like there are these incredible things in life that can make you feel better, but essentially like, what is your medicine? I'm like type A personality. For me, sitting still is my medicine to like really grow spiritually. It's not doing more thing, but someone who's sitting on a couch, for them, it's not doing, you know, like for them, it's like sitting on a couch is not at all a challenge, you know? So you always like what feels more uncomfortable in a place of like what, you know, deep down that your soul needs for growth and kind of like breaking the pattern.
Absolutely.
So
that's it. I love it.
I love you. You're so cool.
I love you too. I want to hang out more.
Yeah,
luckily you're coming to Ibiza soon.
I am. So where can people find you and how to enjoy the app? So
the app is My Human Design. It's on all phones. The website is myhumandesign.com. You can learn to read charts, all that kind of stuff there too. We have like really in-depth courses. And then I'm just Jenna Zoe on Instagram and My Human Design on Instagram.
Amazing.
Very easy.
I love you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Bye.